What I'm going to tell you is that, yes, we do have craft. We do have technology from somewhere else. It is an iceberg. You're seeing the tip of it that I've just started. This is an entire deployment that was swarmed by over 100 unidentified flying objects. It was gone. It wasn't just like I couldn't see it. It was no longer picked up on any of our radar systems, not just mine, but the global radar system that everybody uses. This thing was gone. Where are UFOs from? Who are operating them? What is their intent? Where do they come from? I mean, this is an astounding moment in human history. This is not science fiction. This is science fact.
2, 1, boom. And we're live. Jeremy Corbell.
Joining me now is Jeremy Corbell, a UFO expert.
Investigative filmmaker Jeremy Corbell joins us live from LA.
Why does the government hide this?
It's a big concept that we're not alone and that we're being visited. I was intrigued as a kid when I heard on the radio in 1989, I heard Bob Lazar, this guy, talk about that he reverse engineered alien spacecraft for the United States military. And I was like, yeah. You know, I was just a kid. I was 13 years old. But then he described the propulsion system.
Totally impossible. The propulsion system is a gravity propulsion system. The power source is an antimatter reactor. This technology does not exist at all.
And that really flipped my script. For like a second, I was like, if that is true, that propulsion technique, the gravity amplified propulsion technique is true, then distance becomes irrelevant. So people can say, UFOs are real, they're machines, but we don't know where they're from, but maybe, hey, they're not visiting here. That's the big question. We do see them here, so they're obviously visiting here, but where are they from? With gravity propulsion, they could come from anywhere. They could come from different times. They could come from different star systems. It's really something that when you grasp it, when you grasp what that means, that there's gravity propelled craft, it opens this Pandora's box of possibilities. So that inspired me as a kid, because this is uncharted territory. How fun is that? We get to explore uncharted, unmapped territory and try to draw our own maps. I mean, there's not many things in the modern day you can't look up on Google and get a straight answer. So this is like pretty incredible. Now, I'm not a trained filmmaker. I was the least likely person you'd imagine to get access to people in our military and to put films out. But I'll tell you something, man, there was power in pointing a camera at individuals. It's like all of a sudden they're telling me stuff they never told their children. They never told their family. Secrets that they had kept for decades. And I was like, wow. So this camera became my passport into the unknown.
It's the biggest story of the 20th and 21st centuries. It's the biggest story never told.
What are your thoughts?
I'm telling you, it's not from here. This sample did not come from our solar system, much less the Earth.
Jeremy's produced and directed a number of films on the UFO phenomenon for Netflix and Hulu, each more revealing than the last. His passport into the unknown led him to speaking to military and government officials and helping them reveal their truth.
I am very grateful that I've been able to obtain and release footage unlike what the world has seen before. That is very exciting to me. If you have looked at this phenomenon for a while, you know that last year and up until into 2022, George Knapp and I released a series of images and videos that were confirmed by the Pentagon as UFOs filmed by our United States military. In 2019, Navy warships got swarmed by over 100 UFOs, and I had 2 different ships, and I was able to obtain and release footage, not just visual cell phone footage, but also infrared footage, also FLIR, forward-looking infrared thermal footage, as well as radar data. This has never happened before. We've never had cumulative, corroborative evidence filmed by the military at this scope and scale and confirmed by the Pentagon. So let's really absorb that for a second. Is this the first time in history that we were able to get 4 to 5 sources of corroborative video, actual evidence, including radar that was filmed by our military and then confirmed by the Pentagon, the corroborative nature of this evidence. I think that we can't let that get lost on people. This is not one person putting something out. This is not just two people that filmed the same thing. This is an entire deployment that was swarmed by over 100 unidentified flying objects. The head of the Navy came out and says, we don't know whose they are. We don't know where they came from. We don't know where they landed. And there's a lot more to the story. You know, what I've showed was a very small portion of what I obtained, and it was just to begin the process for people. And man, when you're looking at this footage, you have to understand the complexity of what it takes to get it out legally. Also, how to educate the public so they know what they're looking at. Who understands a black and white video that looks kind of like grainy? Well, no, hold on. This is thermal footage. This is the heat signatures from the object. When you're seeing an oval, what you're seeing is an oval craft. You're not seeing plumes, heat, exhaust, flares, nothing like that. If you can understand what you're seeing in this corroborative video evidence that I put out with George Knapp, if you can understand what you're seeing, it is astonishing. You're not seeing rotors on a drone. You're seeing a propulsion system unlike anything you have seen before. Now, look, there's a reason why we put it out at that time. We put it out at that time because there was pressure in our representative government to get answers by our intelligence agencies. And guess what? It worked. There's questions being asked. There's reports being generated. There was a huge contributory factor to that. Now, some of these documents, I'd say 37 out of 38, deal with really advanced futuristic projections of what we can learn by what we witness with UFOs. What's really important is that the majority of these reports deal with the physics, the science, the aerospace projections of what we're witnessing with UFOs, these biological harmful effects when people come into close proximity with a UFO. What's really spoken about in these reports, the people writing them, even if they were professors from universities dealing with aerospace, they didn't know they were working for the government. They were asked to compile the general knowledge. The one that really captured the imagination of pop culture and the public was, they said, unaccounted for pregnancy. Now, of course, that's a salacious detail. That's pretty wild. But if you actually read the documents, what they focus on was they showed that there is a known biological effect that is harmful caused by close proximity to the propulsion systems of these UAPs or UFOs. So we're talking about radiation burns, like actual burns on the skin. We're talking about degradation on a cellular level and at the level of DNA. We're talking about all sorts of cancers that are strangely associated with the UAP or UFO phenomenon. Now, is this some sort of hostile action taken by the occupants, the pilots, the AI that fly these UFOs? No, typically not. That is a very rare occurrence. However, there is evidence that that does occur. What we're talking about is just when human bodies get close to these machines. It is suspected that these craft operate through gravitational propulsion. Some people would theorize that it's through gravity wave amplification, that they literally bend time and space. So it's not propulsion like you think about it. It's not pushing something out the back and moving forward. From rockets to roller skates, that's how everything works as we know it. Except UFOs, they seem to act very differently. These craft will instantly move as if they're completely immune to the physics of inertia. Without sonic booms, without impact, without explosion, they'll move at 90-degree angles at thousands of miles an hour. So what we're seeing are these machines that are made by somebody, and they are somehow traversing time and space in a way that is so fantastic to our understanding of physics. But we do understand it to a degree. We understand that if you create some sort of gravitational field, that you can fall into place rather than being pushed into place. Imagine you put a bowling ball on a mattress, and then you push your fist down on the mattress and the bowling ball falls into the impression that you made. That is essentially what we're seeing with the propulsion system of these UFOs, except they're moving at a at a speed and a pace that is absolutely incredibly impressive and far beyond any technology that humanity has ever displayed in the theater of war or in any scientific journals that you can ever read about. It's unbelievable the way people try to fit something into a box where it doesn't belong. So let's take two parts to this. Okay. First part is not just Einstein 100 years ago. This is a proven fact that gravity is a manipulation of space and time. We learned about this when you look at atomic clocks that are put high up into orbit and they have less gravitational pull as we have here on Earth. There is a temporal difference, a temporal distortion. It's the theory of relativity. Now, with that said, there are, of course, debunkers. They just try to pick things apart to the point of total absurdity. Let me give you an example. People talk about the Tic Tac UFO. Now, these things were dropping in from 80,000 feet to sea level in about a second, like that. And there's no sonic boom. There's absolute immunity to what we would know as inertial forces or inertia. Commander Chad Underwood is the pilot that filmed the Tic Tac UFO. When that thing shoots off to the left in the camera screen, what he told me, it was gone. It wasn't just like I couldn't see it. It was no longer picked up on any of our radar systems, not just mine, but the global radar system that everybody uses to accumulate. This thing was gone. And he says, I radioed back down to the ship and they had the Spy 1 radar, which, by the way, the scan volume is 80,000 feet is where it starts. So when you say the Tic Tacs were coming in from 80,000 to sea level, they were coming in from above that altitude. Some people say they were coming in from space. Now, with that said, we've got these limited scopes of what we can see. But what debunkers are saying is they're saying everything failed at the same time. You have mass hallucination, right? So you've got like 6 eyeballs, let's say, on the Tic Tac at one time. Not only are people seeing it, and debunkers will say maybe it's glare or something like that in the cockpit, shield. Not only that, it's picked up on radar. It's picked up on multiple types of radar. It had active jamming, which means it could nullify our weapons systems by interfering with a projected ray of information, essentially. Passive jamming would be like you've got a super stealth skin on your aircraft and it makes a big aircraft look like a bird. Active jamming is when you are able to nullify the encrypted signals that allow you to lock your optics and weapon systems onto a craft. And that's what the Tic Tac was doing. Back to the debunkers. What their job is, their self-proclaimed job, is to sow enough doubt into your mind that it's so absurd that you don't even look at the facts anymore. They're claiming in a situation like the Tic Tac that there was mass hallucination, that at the same time there was mass hallucination, that radar picked up the same thing everybody was hallucinating. It's so absurd to me that I usually don't entertain these theories and I don't engage. Let's break that down. Okay, so these are multi-million-dollar weapons platforms that are used to target. They're targeting pods with FLIR capability. So forward-looking infrared thermal capability. When you're looking at some sort of propulsion system, it's showing you the heat signature. So if you have a jet that's blowing far away, you're gonna see a trail of that heat. When you see a perfectly oval or egg-shaped object that's traversing without any kind of exhaust, and then by the way, it does appear to go into the water. That's what the Department of Defense suspected happened, and that's what they thought happened, and it went off radar, and they were not able to recover anything. So it is pretty sure that these things were transmedium, that they could operate underwater just as easily as in the air. So when people say like grainy, like Neil deGrasse Tyson, he's talked about it being some sort of like Instagram comparison of a photo. Clearly, maybe he doesn't know what FLIR is. I mean, that would be shocking, but he talked like he didn't know what FLIR was.
Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, not monochromatic, fuzzy Navy video of something that looks like a Tic Tac.
So the thermal imagery, we can't compare these to like Instagram photos with like filters. These are straight out of Navy warfare, platforms that then give us this visual data. There's no such thing as grain in it, like you think of like old footage. It's a digital capture of thermal imaging. I know there's an education process. Look, I didn't know anything about UFOs until I started studying it. It's a long road. It takes some time. There's stigma involved. There's the laugh factor involved. It takes some time. So we all got to catch each other up if we care. I am most proud of the secrets I've kept rather than the secrets that I've put out, because part of putting out secrets is people trusting that you can keep them until they're ready. What I've been able to put out was because I knew it was not against national security, that it wouldn't get people in trouble. There is a whole lot of information that George Knapp and I will be releasing as is legal and responsible. And look, not one piece of data is ever going to be just the nail in the coffin. Even after everything that I have been exposed to, that I have seen, that I should not have seen, that I should not have been privy to, that should not have been shown, even after that, all I have is more questions. I am more inspired by this mystery than ever, because now I don't know as much as I thought I knew when I started, man. Where are UFOs from? Who are operating them? What is their intent? I do not know the answers to the bigger questions, and I'm so excited to hopefully learn more. So I'll say, to the best of my knowledge, we have actual physical hardware from an unknown origin, which is so far more advanced than what it is that we have fabricated with our material science up to date 2022, that it is astonishing to anybody that has had the ability to be part of these exploitation programs. So with that said, I think the next revelation for everybody, every country in this world, is going to be when we can see some of these materials and see how they're made. Because on a molecular or an atomic level, these alloys are incredible. They're perfectly atomically layered, as if built in zero gravity. They're called metamaterials. The actual skins of these materials themselves are made of atoms that typically can't fuse together, and they're in such perfect, tiny little layers that they were somehow fabricated in a way that would be akin to atomic printing, which is not something that we can do now, but will be something that we can do in the future.